Well, welcome, Leslie Foster, to the Language Fuel podcast.
It's lovely to be here.
Yes, and this is actually a very special occasion. This is the first time that we've actually done the podcast in a video format. Most of the time we're just audio. And we're doing it because it's a very special occasion. Leslie, would you like to do the honors and explain to those watching or listening why this is such a momentous occasion at Language Fuel?
Wow. Thank you for the privilege. I am just so excited. I know I don't look like, but I am very excited that we are launching this week the premium membership that we are offering to people at the Language Fuel Academy to have access to our courses and as well to interact in a closed Facebook group about the courses and how they're finding it. And I just am thrilled. And I think the main reason I'm thrilled is because this is the kind of help and support I would have liked to have had when I was learning language, when I was learning Indonesian back in the 1980s.
Yes, that's right. So this is kind of the modern way that we can provide help for people. Speaking of back in the 80s, we didn't have technology like online courses or podcasts or video Skyping or whatever, we never had all that. And you and I, when we were doing our language learning, we sort of did it the old-fashioned way, and it's totally possible. But now with all this technology, we're able to help so many people understand how to learn a language. How do you go about, getting started with this kind of stuff? So that's right. So the point being that with this membership, people can have access to all of the courses that we've produced, because up until now, it's been just one course at a time that they've been able to purchase access to, right?
That's correct. And for some people, it just may seem a little bit pricey, though I'd like to think that our courses are good value for money. However, not only do you get access to the courses with the premium membership, you can interact with us, the language coaches, via this Facebook closed group and with other learners, and maybe continue the learning. And I think one of the important skills is to really realize that other people can help you. It's not just all on your own.
That's right.
Language learning is really a community effort. It's not just a one individual study session.
Yep, that's right. Now, there may be some people listening to this who've never interacted with the Language Fuel Academy before, so they might not be aware of the kind of courses that we're offering. Could you clarify for them, are we teaching French or Spanish? Are we teaching a language?
We're not teaching a language per se. Mostly what we're teaching is the skills to learn any language. So if you go out on the internet, you can learn lots of languages. There's lots of videos out there on YouTube and lots of language websites where they teach you vocabulary and grammar of specific languages. However, what we're trying to do is help you to build your own skills so that you can learn either a common language where there's lots of materials, but you need skills to be able to intentionally get these language to a point where you have developed fluency on your own. And so we're building up, we're all about building skills rather than specifics of particular grammar and vocabulary.
That's right.
Now, one of the courses, and I think this is the one you did, is helping people with their pronunciation.
Yep.
In other words, helping them to learn to hear sounds that are maybe different from their first language, and then giving them tips and tricks on how to produce those sounds. And then a course that I've developed is how to work with a language assistant, or in other words, a person who speaks the language who is maybe not a teacher, but they're willing to help you. So we kind of go into how to work with them and to be effective in doing that kind of learning.
Yeah, great. And, I'm really excited about that whole strand of language learning courses, giving people the skills to know how to go about learning, how to go about understanding some of the concepts that they'll come across, building up some great study habits and attitudinal habits and that sort of thing. What about the other strand that we've got going in the Language Fuel Academy that's not necessarily for language learners?
Yeah, and this is actually quite exciting. This is for language teachers. In other words, teachers who can help their students to become more self-directed and better utilize the training that they're giving them. So
That's right.
I think that's really exciting. Again, when I was teaching English in Indonesia, it would have been lovely if I had had some of this material.
That's right. And it's not like we're trying to say language teachers don't know how to do their job, because a lot of them are highly qualified. But even just being a member of the premium group, where you can, interact with others in the Facebook group and say, hey, I need some great ideas for this, that, or the other. Just that access and the warm community that we're hoping to build in there is a wonderful resource. It's 24/7, it's open. And of course, there are very specific courses on best practice in a whole bunch of different areas. We have a couple published already, some on, how to go about teaching the sounds that are unfamiliar to your students, some really excellent ideas. There's one coming up on vocabulary and word classes. So a whole bunch of different tips and tricks, isn't it, for the teachers
That's
out
right.
there.
Another course that I just published was also on how to use flashcards effectively.
Yep.
I see people using flashcards all the time, but I'm a little concerned about how they maybe, I want to say waste time, but they could be more productive and intentional in how
Yes.
they're using flashcards.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping, that this course isn't exhaustive, but it really does, I think, help people get started on the right road.
That's right. And it's nothing new. I mean, no, we haven't reinvented the flashcard, but it's just another amazing resource that, if you use it well, can really transform your learning practice or your teaching practice. And I'm, seeing sometimes in groups that I'm a part of in Facebook already, just some generic public ones, teachers saying, how do I get my students to practice at home? That we seem to be slow to move through the curriculum. Well, some of these online tools that we're talking about in the Academy give you access so that you can put these flashcards online for your students, and they can be logging in from home, and it's all gamified, and they're playing games and matching and twisting and memorizing, and it's all online, and it's fun, and it's a great way for teachers to engage their students in the language learning practices. So
that's correct. And even for people or teachers who are maybe just volunteering and running community groups, your mother developed a nice little course on how to teach English out in the community. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. There are a lot of wonderful people, volunteers, a lot of them. I'm thinking here in New Zealand, we have the big organization English Language Partners, where there's a huge team of volunteers teaching English to migrants, to refugees, doing a great community service job. And some of them, despite their best efforts, may really appreciate, some help and some assistance in understanding some of these best practices that we're, espousing. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for that stream of people too, the volunteers, doing their best. And this is a wonderful way that we can support them.
That's right.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, we've talked a little bit about some of the content of the courses that we have, and obviously people can go and check that out as well. www.languagefuelacademy.com. And there's every course that we do has some kind of a couple of activities that's a free trial, right? So people can see if it's going to match their needs. So, nobody should say, oh, how do I know what it's about? Well, just log in, do a couple of the free activities, and, you'll get the sense of what it is. In terms of our premium membership, Leslie, we've got a special on right now, haven't we?
Oh, really? Oh, that's great.
Yes. So we are doing the foundation membership special. So these people who get in now before the end of the year, so obviously we're just about at the end of November, just before Thanksgiving 2017, we're having our special offer that we're open to foundational members. The gates are just opening now. So whoever gets in quick is that wonderful initial group that's going to help us, give us feedback, help us know what other courses they want to see in terms of prioritizing what we develop. So as a thank you, we're giving them the all-time low membership. And in US dollars, it's $14.95 per month.
Wow, that's exciting. Yep. $14.95. That would be great.
Super cheap.
So how does that work out in New Zealand dollars right now? Because we have a special deal for New Zealand members.
We do too. Because Language Fuel is based here in New Zealand, we want to recognize our locals, the people who've helped us and who we're working with. You're down country right now doing some teaching with a bunch of Kiwis. So they can pay in New Zealand dollars, and that works out to be about $19.95 plus tax. So the exchange rate, that's kind of where it sits at the moment. Of course, it does fluctuate a little, but people can pay New Zealand dollars. And we will raise the price, though, to be a more regular price at the beginning of 2018. So this foundational offer for people to join is just from now until the end of the year. And if you join at this price as a thank you for being one of our foundational members, we will never, ever, ever raise the price. You will keep that ultra low price for the lifetime of your membership that you stay with us. So
yeah, so you could stay on for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, however long you feel like you're getting the value of it. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, we have this huge to-do list of courses that we're working our way through to build. So, every month there's going to be a brand new course in there. So you'll get value just by that new course every month. So, some people might want to be staying for a couple years as they, journey through their language learning process or language teaching process. I think even the Facebook group that we'll be providing live in the group, well, not necessarily live, but 24/7 we'll be in and out responding to each other. That is a fantastic support just to have in your back pocket, when you need some encouragement or some great ideas, to bounce some ideas off people. So
yeah, and definitely the bouncing of ideas is really important. I, in the last few years, have been co-teaching with somebody, and I find that the partnership and the community of working with a couple of people, well, one person in particular, just enhances the teaching so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And even as the two of us have been working on these courses, I'm very excited. So I think it's really important to be in a community and to be working together, helping the learners learn, and learners can help each other too. And then when you have this community support, it just means a lot, I think. So
yeah, absolutely. And some teachers, they're blessed to be in a school that has a huge, languages department, and there may be 10 or 12 of them, in which case they're talking about this stuff all the time in the staff room, the water cooler, whatever. But there's plenty of teachers, and they could be the only language teacher at their high school or intermediate school, primary school, whatever. So I'm thinking of those guys in particular. This is a wonderful way that we can support them and be there for that cooler discussion, and let people vent a little bit and then come up with some suggestions as to how to solve the issues. And
that's right.
One thing that I'm quite interested in also, Leslie, is the idea that language teachers can also be helping language learners even if they don't have the same language. So for example, you might have a Spanish teacher in the group and you might have a Russian learner in the group. Well, if a learner asks a question about something, a teacher might be able to give perspective on how language works in general, or good practice in language learning, and help that way, so the learner gets benefit from those kinds of ideas. But the other way around, I think, is also very interesting for learners to really see and remember what it's like to learn a language and hear people saying, I'm really struggling with this and I'm really struggling with that. One of the podcasts I did earlier was talking about the fact that it's great for teachers to be language learners themselves, and that may be idealistic, and I try to practice it myself. I carry on my own language learning practices, but not everybody does have the time to invest. But by being in the Facebook group, you'll see you'll see and you'll remember some of the struggles that language learners have, and I think that would also help you develop empathy for the students that you have in your classroom.
That's right. Yeah. So I think this learning and teaching it goes together. And I think when there's true communication going on, you can get some really good synergy going. And that's what we really want to see, I believe, in this Facebook group.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add while we're telling the world about us opening our doors to the premium membership of the Language Fuel Academy?
I guess I'd say I just hope that some of you who look at this podcast will sign up, because I look forward to interacting with you in future, and particularly what we want for the members to let us know what you think you want help on to build courses. We've got some ideas, and in fact, we've got a few other ones up our sleeves, but we're very open to more ideas and developing the courses that you feel like will help you with continuing to grow in your learning, because it's not just to get a grade, but it's to actually build relationships with people from another language and culture.
Mm. Fantastic. And that's a wonderful way to end this chat today with you, Leslie, this podcast, because that's actually my motivation for this whole thing. Why are we bothering with Language Fuel? Is because it aids cross-cultural understanding. The only reason you learn another language is to be able to communicate with people from a different community, a different background, different, geography, different culture, all sorts of things. And for me, that's been transformational in my life, realizing, wow, there's way more than just my way of viewing the world here. It's great to see the world from a different perspective, and I would love for everybody to have that opportunity. And certainly supporting language learning so that people can have that opportunity, but supporting language teaching too, because we don't want to be putting people off. I have heard people say, I was never any good at French at school or something like that. And I think, what a shame. It just means you didn't necessarily have a positive learning experience. And I don't know how much it relies on the teacher versus how much it relies on the student. I'm sure it's not an either or question, right? It's a bit of both.
No, it is a bit of both. That's true.
Yeah, so we want to do our best to make sure that people have wonderful language learning and language teaching experiences so that, the world in general is better prepared for cross-cultural understanding.
Exactly, and communication, because we have to do it these days. That is what is currently in the world, is we're all interacting with everybody across.
Absolutely. And those are the things that cannot be, automated. That jobs are not going to be lost. As much as you can have Google Translate, well, you know just as well as I do how awful that is. And you can, this real human understanding is something that can never be replaced by machines. And so it's a super important skill to take with us into the next century.
That's right. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I need to go and get back to working with my co-teacher on a few things, and it's great to interact with you, Joanna.
Great. Thank you so much for being on a podcast today, Leslie, and fingers crossed we'll see a bunch of the people who are watching this in the doors inside the Language Fuel Academy over the next coming days.
Absolutely. See you later.
All right. See you then.